All right, so welcome back to Beyond the Focus, and we want to talk about where clarity really meets confidence. We're excited today to have Children's Grief with us here. We're going to hear all things about how they're celebrating in the community, helping really hand in hand with some people. And here at McIntosh and Associates, it's really more than just helping people through money flow and purpose and process. It's definitely more of living day to day. It's not about numbers. It's about how do we as a community really come together and unify in one. And really our focus and clarity today, we want to give you freedom to ask questions, reach back out. And I'm really, really excited to be with both of you here today. And if you both want to just share with me a little bit, Gabby, do you want to talk about your Children's Grief Center and kind of the beginnings of there first and share with us a little bit about the story behind? And then we can go back and forth with your story a little bit, Gabby, and Chris, your story, and hear about some of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we thinking the start of the Grief Center in totality?
I think, why don't you share some of your vision,
Okay.
What kind of led you into that direction and kind of how you're feeling that you're helping the hearts of some of the community?
Yeah, absolutely. I went to CMU for my counseling program, and I needed an internship. And my focus was grief focus. My Aunt Colette had breast cancer at the time, and she was really in and out of hospice and figuring out her end of life, and that was what drew me to hospice work. But there wasn't really any internships available in that. So when I stumbled upon the Grief Center, it was still in my focus area of grief, but I wasn't sure about kids. And I told that to Camille, who was our founder, when I called, and she's like, "Well, we'll give it a go." And then here I am, 8 years later, as the program director, and I love what I do, and being able to help kids in their hardest moments and help their families be able to navigate loss and grief and all the feelings that come with it.
Yeah,
is super powerful for me.
and I think just the spirit and the feeling of emotion, right? So today it's really nice as we talk about this podcast. It goes beyond anything healthcare or financial related. It really comes down to how do we help to honor and take a look at faith, grief, focus, impact. And it's really great to have both of you joining us with different backgrounds. And so as we intro Gabby sharing some of her story, so Gabby, is it Gauthier?
Yeah,
Gauthier. In both your work and Chris Saber in your work, really helping children and teens. Is that your two primary focuses, and then family kind of navigating through really a health environment of that and supportive ways to create maybe their personal stories. And I'm hoping this can even relieve and release some kind of powerful impact that people out there listening, they're not alone. And the Grief Center could really help them to live with intention too and become more powerful, I think, for the whole community.
Yeah, and you really hit it there, was that they're not alone, and that's what we focus on at the Grief Center. So kids from 4 to 18 can be enrolled in the program, and then their caregiver as well. So the groups are formatted for the kids, and then there's the adult group as well. And that focuses on their grief, but also on how to support their grieving kids. But the idea is that they get to come and talk to other kids and other families who know what they're going through.
Okay. And I think even, Gabby, with your counseling history, do you think that's really helped with the groups? What are the sizings of some of these groups? And how do you feel that that's been impactful?
Yeah, I think the ideal, we split into age groups. So like 4 to 6, 6 to 8 or 9, and then 9, 10, 11, and then the teen group, and then the caregiver group. So we split into those age groups, and I try to get 10 or 12 per group and max it. And probably our Midland group is the biggest, and we're actually at capacity, so much so that we're starting a second group because we can't fit in the room physically.
Okay.
So yeah, I think my counseling background is very helpful as the lead on that night, but we are run by volunteers. So we train the volunteers on how to reflective listen, and our groups are really focused on reflecting back what they say and not digging any further. And my coworker, Lexi Moulton, is a MSW. If we see anything concerning or we think there's a lot of trauma, we'll refer out so they can get intensive individual therapy. as well as our groups, because we pair really nicely together to get all the support we can.
And is everything primarily at the hub in Midland? Or how are we reaching the Great Lakes Bay region?
Yeah, so we have our main groups in Midland, our Midland groups, and then we have Bay City groups at Quest Unity in Bay City, and we have our Saginaw groups at the Mid-Michigan Children's Museum in Saginaw.
Okay.
So we meet there twice a month, but we also go into the schools, and within the schools we go kind of beyond the Great Lakes Bay region. We're Great Lakes Bay region and beyond, because they've been asking for us.
Yeah.
And we go when we're asked.
I know it's been very impactful in the schools. I have 3 daughters in the Freeland school system.
Yeah.
And about 4 years back now, we lost my father to cancer. And at the time, I wasn't aware of the Children's Grief Center at all. And our youngest especially was really having a lot of headaches, went really quiet, became very withdrawn from sports and school. And at church, actually, one of the ladies at church came up to me and said, I might have an idea for you. And that's how we were first brought. So I think it's so important to bring awareness. We didn't end up joining one of the programs at the time, but we came in and I don't remember the first name of who gave me like a kit. Because the kids were really nervous to even come in the building. So we went in and we were able to pick up a kit that we went home and did actually on our own, and they made the worry monster.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we sat around our table for hours and made that worry monster, and the girls put all their things in the tissue box that we created. And they kept that for a couple of years. And especially our youngest, it was things like that helped her. And then when the program came to the school, they could create little like crafts and things at school that they participated in. And then I think like my older 2 were able to help some other kids that were maybe struggling more deeply than what they were at their age. So I can tell you that whether people are doing programs at home or participating in their program, I think that the awareness is so great for a variety of things that people could be going through. And really just utilizing and leaning in on your support of, hey, how can we kind of get through this and process this for the children? It was a great way.
Yeah, I love that you were able to still receive resources from us, even if you weren't necessarily ready for groups. And that's what we hope for, of being able to give something to families, even if they're not ready to be in the group environment yet. So we have those care packages available, or even just a phone call to talk about possible options or strategies.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful to have just different opportunities for different families, and just everyone kind of walks along it in a different way, which I think is great. Yeah. So, Chris, your path looks a bit different. So, let's talk a little bit about what brought you to the center and the background that you've had.
Well, I tell everybody that this job found me.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you just said, for almost 30 years I was a teacher, and part of that was I was a school administrator, and at the end of I was getting toward the end of my career, and just started casually looking and to see if there was something else I could do. And as the summer progressed and got to the end of July, first part of August, my teacher brain kicked in, and I was thinking about the fall and what I needed to do. And then I heard that the founder and previous executive director was looking to retire. And so one thing led to another, and I thought, no, it's okay. I'm getting ready to go back to school. I'm already in that mode. Well, now here I am with the 2 of you talking about the Children's Grief Center. So I applied, and I, like Gabby was saying, I really love this work. I think what I love the most about it is that I still get to be involved in helping kids be the best that they can be. Mm-hmm. And when I was teaching and when I was a school administrator, I saw so much of this. In fact, even when I taught 4th grade, one of my students that very year, I watched him go through anticipatory grief, watching his mom slowly die due to cancer. Mm-hmm. And then the day came when she did die. And I didn't know until he walked into my classroom, my 4th grade classroom that day. and came up to me and said, "Mr. Sabrin, I just want you to know that my mom died this morning."
Mm-hmm.
And, first of all, the heartbreak, number one. Number two, I'm thinking, and you're here. And at that point, as a teacher, I didn't really understand that, because the pressures of teaching and school administration and what schools have to do to make sure content gets delivered, to make sure tests are passed, to make sure state averages are what they are, it can be really difficult to understand why that child showed up that day. The reason he showed up was because that was normalcy for him, right? That was something to help him continue. He was with his friends, his group of people, and that's why he showed up that day.
Yeah.
And I continually think of that story as I now officially retired from teaching in school administration and started my second career here at the Grief Center. I watch the kids come into group, or I watch the kids come into group from during the school day in those programs, and I watch the power of peer support. Like Gabby was talking about, you were sharing with your family, the power of kids playing together. And I guess I should say I saw the power of kids playing together and kids supporting each other when I was teaching.
Mm-hmm.
But the true power of peer support and not feeling alone when that child knows that the child next to them is also going on a grief journey, that's where the magic starts to happen.
Yeah.
That's where I've observed them becoming more confident. And we hear from teachers and we hear from families that because of this model that we have, the kids are more confident, they're more relaxed, they're more engaged when they do truly realize they're not alone. So, my life journey going from teaching, but then now into this grief work has really helped me better understand people, helped me better understand children and how they process.
Sure.
I mean, I got it as a teacher, but I was more concerned about math, reading, writing, science, social studies.
Yeah.
So it's a great journey. I'm glad I'm here, and I'm planning on being here for a while.
So great. And just different ways that you're connecting that human connection to people, really being able to rely on one another.
Yeah,
and sometimes
exactly.
it is about, especially for kids, they do normally like their routine.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he probably felt like, gosh, this is my comfort spot.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
Well, with this show being called Beyond the Focus can really mean different things for different people in different stages of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Career changes as we get older in life. What does focus really mean to the two of you, both personally and then how you're giving through the Children's Grief Center, would you say?
I think I mentioned in my little questions that I have ADHD, so focus on the daily is a challenge, and medication really helps me with that, but it's a lot of tools I'm able to be able to focus on the day-to-day and techniques and strategies and structure. And thinking about that, I was talking to my interns today, and she reminded me that, like, when you are grieving, being able to focus on anything feels impossible. Like, your focus is out the window, and a lot of kids are misdiagnosed with ADHD because, and adults actually, because they can't focus when they're so lost in their grief when all they can think about is their person.
Sure.
So I think focus in the grief world is something that we need to bring structure and strategy to for them to be able to work through their grief so they can focus on things beyond their grief.
Yeah. And to realize that, people don't need to be perfect. And it's not about perfection, but it's about finding a good balance of life and people and what you're going through at that season of life.
Yeah, that's so hard to find and not be perfect. And you can't be perfect in your grief either.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. What about for you, Frank?
You all just took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, and both personally and professionally, I just truly believe that it's all about people, right? I mean, at the end of the day, and I felt very strongly about this as a school administrator. I feel strongly as an executive director of a nonprofit too, that if you don't have the people, and when I say the people, I mean all the categories, the therapists, the administrators, the volunteers, the families, the teachers, all the businesses, local businesses, whomever. If you don't have people, you don't really have anything.
Sure.
And so caring for people, whatever that may look like with whatever position you have, to me is the core of how I operate and how I've always thought. I've done a lot of reflecting on this, the last several months actually, about, from where I sit, how can I best take care of my kids, my wife, my family, the people who I lead, our families who come, school children who come out of their class to come, what can I do to best care for and support? And, when I say that, I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. I'm not trying to blow smoke by any means, but, I think really focusing on what we can do to care for the humans is the most critical, because in my opinion, if you care for the humans, then everything else that needs to happen will happen around it.
Yeah. Quality, effectiveness, relying on one another. Yes. Maintaining consistent and, knowing that even I think for all the community themselves and the children or the families that come there, just knowing, hey, I can count on them. They're going to be there.
Right.
Your presence is going to continue to show up for them. And that's what they really need in that time is that consistency, and kind of soft nurturing type of atmosphere, I'd say.
I would add vulnerability in that too.
Okay.
We talk about that quite a bit at the Grief Center. And if I learned anything in the last 3.5 years of working here, the importance of, knowing that it's okay to be vulnerable and it's okay to open up and, it's okay to receive that too and to create that space for people to have conversations.
Sure. And I think just sometimes folks' focus will evolve as life evolves and things change in our life. Sometimes we see them coming and sometimes it's totally out of the blue. So I think it's nice to have a place and have that community support as well. What do you say if we're talking about like self-care, reality, what keeps both of you grounded? What would you say, like, especially maybe even emotionally, of all the things that the two of you are helping people through, even inside the working environment? What helps you there?
I think trying to find balance in life. I think my people, so my family and my daughter and my coworkers, and like being able to be vulnerable and share when we're not having a good day, and when we're able to, when we being very honest of like, I don't have the focus today. Like I'm sitting and staring at a wall in my office. And so being able to come out of my office and have that conversation and just having that bounces to, productivity and being able to work through it. And then personally, having a therapist, especially when we're in this intensive grief work, therapists need therapists and their therapists need therapists and so forth and beyond forever.
Sure.
So I think that's really important that everyone in the helping profession gets that support too.
And support on one another.
Yeah.
What about for you, Chris?
Mutual trust is really important. Gabby touched on that a little bit. One of the things that at the Grief Center we work really hard on is taking care of our own, because if we're going to be an agency that takes care of others, we need to take care of our own as well, pure and simple. And so, any of us, of the 5 of us that work there, like Gabby said, if we're having a day where we, are not feeling grounded, or if something is just, then we allow people to take care of that need, meet that need, so they can feel grounded themselves. They can feel focused themselves and find their center, quite frankly. I've spun my wheels way too many times in my previous career, and it just lasted too long. And I, number one, didn't get anything done, but number two, and more so, felt terrible emotionally after that. So knowing that we can do that at work, and I think in my personal life too, it's spills over. I mean, it's the same same type of philosophy. When any of my family or friends need a space, I work hard to create it, but I also know that they create it too for me. If I just need to unload something or have a problem solved or something like that.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, my response goes back to like I said earlier, it goes back to people and understanding and compassion. And I try and surround myself with those people who I know are, well, to sort of say my people, right? Yeah. My group, my team. And knowing that I can be safe and vulnerable helps me stay grounded.
Yeah, and I think too, if you're hoping that your whole team is showing up their best every day, right? Whatever their best is for that day,
right?
Then you can lean on one another because of all the great work and the people that you're helping. Attitude is always so key, and it's almost that inlet to trust. Right. So your attitude and active listening, and if you can rely on one another when every day is not always going to be great, and rely on one another and kind of keep that focus of what your mission is. It sounds like you group together as a nice team, and then even you're letting that spill over into how am I more intentional at home, and how am I helping my family, and making sure that kind of that work-home life balance matches up as well.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to practice what we preach, because we do give all of these families strategies on how to feel grounded and connect with their person beyond death and connect with each other, and to recognize that we can utilize what we're giving them. Like, we can make a worry monster as adults, and it's helpful for us. Yeah. And like to be able to access that inner child, that place where, we might have struggled when we were kids. It's really helpful to be able to use that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, sometimes when we talk about values or even legacy and impact, here at McIntosh and Associates, we talk, a lot with our client families and neighbors about a lot of things as well that you can't see or touch, right? So we're helping to manage investments for a future retirement, and they can't see, touch, or feel that. Much like the two of you are helping walk people through maybe at first what they come in and they're guarded. So how might that help evolve for you? Obviously, not in the financial world and not just about time and energy, but how does this connect to your workflow of really balancing, hey, how are we optimizing what we're sharing with people when it's not always something tangible? Now, the worry monster is great, right? It's something you can put together. You see it, you can write your emotions, but how would you say you can connect with that? Maybe even for the listeners, the first couple times they chat with you, just for them to feel kind of that comfort that it's okay to let down my guard and be able to start sharing for the two of you and the team to help them.
Yeah, I mean, reflective listening is so powerful. It's really just creating that environment for them to be able to share, and not judging, not giving them like the really heavy sympathy. Kids hate when you say I'm sorry for your loss, and a lot of people don't like it either. It's like, how do you reply? How do you say, what do you say to that? So, we don't typically give the sad head tilt and the, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, because kids don't know what to do with that. So we just reflect, oh, your dad died. You're really sad your dad died. And just reflecting their words back to them, just being a glorified mirror for their words, is so powerful. And it works for adults too. And we just want them to feel comfortable sharing those. And then once we, they're able to share verbally, but also verbally isn't everyone's language. So that's why we do the worry monsters. We do physical stuff with our hands and make crafts, or we play with fidgets to get this energy out of our body, because if we think of feelings and grief as energy, it's got to come out in some way. Yeah. So to create that space for them to let it out, even if it is angry and they want to punch something, let's give them a punching bag, because that's okay. It makes sense that it wants to come out explosively. Yeah. Just got to give it to them safely.
Yeah, and I would add to the idea of reflective listening, and when they hear you reflect back what you've heard, then they feel heard. And a lot of times, I know as a teacher, kids just never felt heard, especially when they were in trouble for whatever reason they were in trouble. Coming in off the lunch playground was always just a hot mess because everybody did something wrong, but the kids never felt heard and the adults were trying to manage and all this chaos. And I would spend quite a bit of time after lunch just sitting and listening. And I'll never forget one of my 5th grade students once upon a time who really struggled with adult interaction. I just sat with him in the hallway for probably half hour, 40 minutes because I had another adult in the classroom. And he unloaded a bunch of stuff. I said, tell me more. And then he screamed at the top of his lungs, finally a teacher who listens to me. And that was exactly what I was hoping for. And then when I got to the Grief Center and, heard that there was a name for what I was doing called reflective listening, it's the magic happens when the kids and even the adults, like Abby was saying, they feel heard and they feel that sense of feeling heard then turns into comfort and then turns into an opportunity for them to maybe vocalize a little bit more about their grief.
Yeah.
It helps you process too, because
That's the word I was looking for.
sometimes I talk so fast I don't even know what I'm saying, and then if someone repeats back exactly what I said, I'm like, oh, I said that. Is that what I'm feeling? And so they're able to process that a little bit better.
Well, it sounds like you do a great job of focusing on creating that kind of space in an environment with the reflective listening and active listening both, because you couldn't be more right. People don't want to hear. I didn't want to hear, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. It's like nails on a chalkboard. And it was to all my children as well. And so we started practicing what are some good ways to reflect when we have other people with similar situations. What might we say to them? What else would help? So you don't just feel like you just want to shut down, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really great for the listeners to hear that, gosh, there's more ways to be able to communicate, be heard, and everyone then can find some comfort and some trust in sharing that they're not the only ones that are feeling that way. And you've probably heard most of it many times before, and then they can open up as well, which is really great. Yeah. Well, what do you think makes the Children's Grief Center unique in the region? Why don't you share that with listeners? What's unique for the two of you? And then we can kind of talk about how they can connect and get more involved.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that it is grief focused. There is not, if you Google like grief support area, we're going to pop up.
Okay.
There's not a lot of grief support in the area, especially for kids, but for really everyone. And we get calls looking for adult groups too. And unfortunately, we have to refer that out at the moment just because that's not the space we have. We serve the kids and their family.
Sure.
But I think the unique thing is the peer support for them being able to help each other. We are a nonprofit, so our families, we don't do insurances. Our families attend at no cost thanks to donations and grants and other funding like that. So as of right now, they can receive support without having to struggle financially. And then I think the fact that we do go into schools is a huge bonus where, we don't want kids to stop playing soccer or bowling or whatever they're doing after school, because that's such a powerful outlet for them to be able to maybe distract from their grief or to put energy elsewhere. So if we can get to them during the school day, that's also really helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Barriers and breaking them down, I think, is really unique to our agency.
Okay.
And Gabby just did an amazing job describing, the school-based program, and that's exactly, I would just be repeating what she said. We essentially meeting the kids where they are for that moment, and we take our evening groups, which are about an hour and a half. We boil it down to about an hour, and we take that into the schools. Amazing partnerships with administration and with teachers, counselors, mental health professionals in the schools have been calling. That school program has leaped in the 3.5 years I've been there from about 5 schools now up to 45 school buildings with 55 programs in it.
Definitely growing.
Exactly. And like Gabby said before, that's well beyond Midland Bay and Saginaw. We've had Genesee County call for help. We've had Gladwin County, Aranac County, Tuscola County. So, it's a unique service. It's definitely a needed service. I'd say one of our unique pieces is we try and break down those barriers and meet people where they are as much as we can.
And I think that's so key about, as we go beyond the focus, to look at how are we helping children and families of the children connect, whether it's through the school first or at home, and just recognizing and realizing as we start seeing different changes in behavior and attitude and energy and such in the children. I think that education aspect is key. What would you say is a great way for community or families to reach out? Gee, what's their best way to connect with you?
We have lots of different ways. All the electronic ways. We have a website out there, childrensgriefglbr.org. You can give us a call at 989-495-9335. Okay. The website has email addresses there as well. And you can just old-fashioned drive up to our building and stop in. And we welcome people come in the door. Our operating hours are 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. Our home office is in Midland on James Savage Road. But I don't want other counties to think, that that we're just Midland. If somebody is asking for support from Saginaw or Bay, please call us. And if it's too far of a drive, we can figure out a way to come meet at a coffee shop or maybe at a church or something like that to engage conversation. Like I said, we try and break down barriers. Okay. And so, those would be the ways that people could get a hold of us. They could look for us at outreach events also. We've got our big fundraiser coming up in May, May 16th. It's a 5K out at MBS International Airport. Okay. So they can look for that. That's a big family festival type of event, which is fun. And so they can just come check us out there. Gabby does run community nights over the summer because our program year is September to May. But we don't stop there. In the summer, we do run a camp, a one-day camp on a Saturday up at Camp Fishtails. Okay. And people can, call Gabby and check into that. But the community nights too are a pretty big deal. Yeah,
they're open to everyone. So if people are curious about what we do, that's something they can come do. We just did our luminary evening before the holidays, so they can make a candle mason jar in honor of their person who died. But we do some other mental health type things during the summer. We've made a coping skill toolbox. And that's good for anyone. So even if you're not necessarily grief focused right now, being able to connect with us to learn more about what we do or just be able to get out of the house in the summer is really helpful.
Yeah. And that 5K is a lot of fun. So to all the listeners, take your family out. It's really good to take care of your body too. So you can do it together as a family. Yep. There's lots of participation. It's very fun. And, even here at the office for those listeners, please be rating, sharing, and reviewing the podcast so people can continue to hear about Children's Grief Center. But if you want to find out more about Children's Grief Center, they give you their information. You can reach out to us too at focuswealthplan.com. Or if any of our consumers that are listening, our client families, we do have a variety to do the qualified charitable distributions and contributions, and this would be a great way too for them to give back locally to the community. And it is nice to know that yes, your hub is in Midland, but kind of the surrounding greater area can definitely help to be part of this. So until next time, stay focused, lead with purpose, and we thank you both, Chris and Gabby, for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.